Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is able to hear me and everyone is able to see my screen. If possible, can someone please confirm if you're able to hear me clearly and able to see my screen? Guys, can someone please confirm, guys, if you're able to hear me
Yes, sir,
clearly and able
visible.
to... Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Today, I'm going to discuss about a concept called as a angular forms. Okay? Right, sure. So before I proceed further, Kanan, you mentioned that you're going to get back to me if you have any questions on routing. So you get a chance to work on routings and you have any questions on that so that I'll take it up. Otherwise, I'll proceed further. Not
No,
only
sir,
Kanan,
no.
anyone.
So,
Sorry.
so, yeah, actually, I've gone through as of now. I don't have any doubts.
Okay.
Okay. So once you're done, maybe I will just clear what are doubts I have.
Fine. That's fine. Just like not only Kanan, anyone on routings, anyone, any questions here? Okay. Assuming that we are good here. So this forms is a small topic, guys. What are the today's topic, tomorrow and day after tomorrow? They are not up to the mark. Okay. Very, very small things over. All the big things are over here. Okay. Now, whenever we are designing a page, right, sir? What are the common things, guys, in a page? What are the common things is, especially on a page, we need to create the HTML controls, right? After that, validating the data on the HTML page and rendering the data on the page. Do you feel these are the common functionalities of every page? What are those things? Submitting the data which is entered on the page, rendering the data on the page, validating the data on the page, right? Do you feel agree, right? So Angular introduced a forms module. We saw two-way data binding forms module, right, guys? In the two-way data binding, we saw a forms module, right? So Angular introduces forms module where these capabilities are maximum things are automated. Okay. Developer no need to write any boilerplate code over here, guys. Okay. Developer no need to write any boilerplate code over here. Maximum code will be done by the framework here. So it is having two types of things here where template driven forms as well as reactive forms here. So there are two types of forms we are going to have: template driven forms as well as reactive forms over here, which we are going to have in the Angular here. Okay. So let me write a running notes over here, guys. Yeah. So Angular forms here. Okay. What is the functionality of Angular forms is nothing but here. Angular typically automated some capabilities like creating the page or capability, some capabilities like submitting the data on the page. Submitting the data on the page. That is, sir, how will enter the data on the HTML page? Will enter the data, right, guys, here? So HTML data to be converted into JSON, right? HTML form data. Sir, we are entering the data on the HTML form, right? That entire data need to be converted into JSON, right? Why JSON? Why JSON, guys? Because backend looking for JSON. Yes or no? We need to give the data, backend need to give the data in the form of a JSON, right? That is. Next, rendering the data. Rendering the data on the page. So backend, we are going to get JSON data. JSON data, we need to bind it to HTML form. Okay? Rendering the data on the page, JSON data need to be binded to HTML form. After that, validating the data. That is common validations like required validator, not null, required validator, length, email, regex, etc. So by default, these are the things which are automated by the framework here. By default, these are things are automated by the framework over here, guys. Here. So Angular typically introducing Angular module here. Okay. So which is typically introducing Angular forms module over here. And these forms modules are typically taking care, right? There are 3 functionalities it is going to take care here. Where submitting the data on the page, rendering the data on the page, validating the page data. All these things, developer no need to write a code over here, guys. Developer no need to write a code here. Maximum things are typically taken care by the framework here. So as a developer, just you can create a page and JSON conversion, binding the data, validating the data. All those things we are typically taken care by the framework over here. Right, sir? Now, there are 2 types of forms in Angular. There are 2 types of forms in Angular. One is template driven forms. Another one is reactive forms. Mostly template driven forms are 70 to 90% of the people will use template driven forms only. Where 10 to 20% of the people are going to use reactive forms here. Okay. 70 to 80% of the people will use template driven forms and 10 to 20% of the people are going to use reactive forms here. Now we are going to discuss what exactly a template driven form and what is a reactive form we are going to discuss. Okay. Before I proceed further, any questions here as of now? Okay. I hope everyone is clear. Right. Now, by default, if you see here, form, label, name, type is equal to text box, name, label is equal to mail, email, submit. This is my HTML code, right? Assuming that I entered max test at test.com. This is the data I entered. By default, when I click submit button, it will create a JSON like that, where key of the JSON is control name. Control name is the JSON key name, guys. Value will be the value entered on the text box. how many controls are there in our page, that many JSON keys will be available here. That many JSON keys are typically available here. Understand? I have a name, that's why name, email, that's why email, and I'm going to have a JSON object is to be submitted. Okay. Developer no need to write code in marshalling as well as unmarshalling. What is marshalling? What is unmarshalling? Converting HTML form into JSON, that is marshalling. I have a JSON object and I want to bind it to HTML, that is unmarshalling, right? So HTML to JSON or a JavaScript to JSON marshalling, JSON to JavaScript or HTML is unmarshalling. So typically Angular forms are typically introduced with respect to marshalling as well as unmarshalling concept is concerned here. We are going to take care here. By default, developer is not going to write any code over here. Whenever he clicks submit button, the entire code will be submitted and the JSON object will be submitted here. Right here. Okay. Now there are two approaches, guys. Template driven forms as well as reactive forms here. Template driven forms as well as reactive forms over here, guys. Here. Okay. Right. I'm going to discuss that. So in case of template driven forms, the form object will be created by the Angular. Angular is going to create a form object. What is a form object, guys? In a HTML, we have a form object is available, right? In HTML, we have a form object, right? Yes or no, guys? So we have a form object in HTML. That form object is created by the DOM. DOM is going to create the form object. And Angular will give the values to the form object. Angular is going to give the form object. As well as reactive forms here. DOM will not do anything here. Form object is created by the Angular, and the form object created by the Angular that is given to DOM. The complete object is given to DOM here. Okay. A small difference, guys, here. We have a form object, right? HTML, body. In the same way, form tag will be there, right, guys? Whenever I write a form tag, if a form tag is getting created by the DOM and the values to be injected by the Angular to the form object, that is template driven forms here. But if the form object is created by the Angular, and once the data is given by the Angular, just the entire form object is shared to the DOM. That is reactive forms here. There are two approaches here. Okay, just I'm going to write over here, guys. So as part of template driven forms, okay, as part of template driven forms here, it's a traditional approach. I mean, I can say that it's a traditional approach. Okay, where DOM object, DOM will create form object and Angular will inject the data into the form object here. It's a traditional approach where DOM is going to create a form object and Angular will inject the data into the form object here. Whereas reactive forms here. Form object programmatically created by Angular, and entire form object will be form object created by the form object is created by the Angular, and entire form object will be synchronized to DOM. That is the case of reactive forms here, guys. Okay, you will get a more idea when we write the code here. Understand, right, guys? This is a typical introduction related to forms here. So by using forms module, by default, Angular is going to typically use submitting the data, rendering the data, as well as validating the data. Those are the things that are typically taken care. And how the form object is getting created based on the template driven forms as well as reactive forms are there here. Okay. So this is our relation over here. Name, email. And you saw that, right? By default, how many controls are there? Each control name will be the key name, and max, whatever the value, and name, and test at the rate of a.com, something like that. So these are the things that are typically taken care over here, guys. Here. Right? Right here. Now, some people will ask in interview, guys, what is the difference between template-driven forms versus reactive forms? Some people will ask in interview. It's not a great question to ask, but some people will ask actually. So just I want to give a brief idea here, guys. Here, reactive forms are created in TypeScript file, in a TS file, right, guys? Here we have a TS file, right? There is a component class. That's what we wrote, right? Form object is created by the Angular. That's what I told, right? Form object is created by the Angular, right? So Angular is going to create a form object means what? It is created in TypeScript. But here, template-driven forms are directives. That is what HTML only, right? Where we are going to use directives? HTML only, right? So template-driven forms are created by the directives. Reactive forms are created by the component class. Next. Any data, it's a structured data, right? Angular is giving JSON, right? It's a structured data, right? If you see here, right? It's a structure, right? Key and value, structured data, right? But whereas template-driven forms is HTML, it is unstructured, right? So we don't have a proper structure on HTML, right? That is why. And template-driven forms are asynchronous, correct, right? Why it's asynchronous? HTML will collect the data and it will give to business logic. And it's every business logic is asynchronous, right? Whereas entire things are synchronous because form object is created in Angular and it is going to sync, right? That is synchronous. And validations we are going to write in the functions, in a TypeScript functions we are going to write here. Whereas template driven forms, validations to be created by the directive. Okay. After that, mutable as well as immutable. What is mutable, guys? What is the meaning of mutability? What's the meaning of mutability?
Editable and non-editable.
Exactly. I mean, mutable means what? What is mutable? What
We
exactly
can
mutable?
modify. We can modify the content.
Exactly. We can modify. That is called as a mutable. Okay. Okay. Whereas immutable means what? We cannot modify that. Correct, right? Yeah. So my intention was template driven forms I can modify before giving to Angular. I can do any changes. It's immutable. The form object is created DOM, right? DOM can do any changes before it's going to Angular. But whereas in reactive forms, once form object is created, DOM can take it directly. It will not do any other changes here. Okay? Understand, right? So far. So that is the meaning. So these are the some differences where you can refer when you go for interview. When you are going for interview, these are the some changes you need to get it and you can go through that. Okay? Clear, guys? So far, everyone is clear? Any questions on the differences point of view? Right here. So now we are going to do, sir, everyone is clear, right? As of now, everyone is clear. Right here. Now we are going to see Angular forms over here, guys. We are going to have, just now I told, right? Every HTML control will have a name, right? Every HTML control will have a name, right? That is, name is equal to username. That is given in the form of a JSON. It's a key in the JSON. And email and secret. ng model is a predefined keyword where automatically data will be submitted. You no need to write here the code. Typically, you no need to write the code over here, guys. You no need to write any code here. Automatically, the control data will be submitted to backend. That is a ng model is going to take care of that. Okay. So we are going to write the code over here, guys. So I have a already predefined code. I'm going to explain over here, guys. I'm going to explain over here. So before that, first I'll show you the execution, guys. Then you'll understand clearly. So ng sub. So localhost colon 4200. This is my form, guys. Registration form, right? Full name, username, email, password, confirm password, register. This is my form, right? So on click of register, I need to give a JSON data to backend. What is the responsibility of an Angular developer over here? What exactly the responsibility of Angular developer here? Take the data. It should take the valid data from HTML form. We need to take the actual data from HTML form and we need to submit the data to the backend. And we are going to submit the data to the backend here. Right? Now here you'll see here. For example, I click on register. What is that? It's giving validations, right? You understand, right? Full name is required. Username is required. Email is required. Password is required. Confirm password is required. Accept terms is required. All are required here. Yeah. Now, for example, I'm entering Vijay. As long as I enter, the validation is gone, right, sir? You saw here? You saw that, guys? As long as I enter a key. You saw here? That is Angular, guys. That is the meaning of Angular. Client-side framework. Do you saw the same behavior in regular framework, guys? The data, whatever you enter, it should be submitted. JavaScript could show trigger and it should display. Full name is required, I enter, and the validation is gone. Do you see the powerfulness of Angular? Yes, sir, no, guys, whatever I'm showing, is it there in our regular framework? Sir, everyone is able to hear my voice clearly, right? And everyone is following me, right? Now I'm going to enter. Username is required. Now, next validation is there, guys, here. By default, we have a next validation. Username must be at least 6 characters over here, guys. Okay? By default, okay, where we are going to add username must be at least 6 characters. That's the meaning over here, right? Next validation, guys. For example, I didn't enter any data. First validation is username is required. If I enter some data, then first validation is gone. Username must be at least 6 characters. Second validation. Something like that. Now validation is gone. Right? Next one is email is required. For example, I enter Vijay. Is it a valid email? Vijay is not a valid email, right? I wrote @gmail.com. Now it's valid, right? Next, password. Password also must be at least 6 characters, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's good. Confirm password. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what is actually? Confirm password does not match. That means password and confirm password should match, right? Yes or no? So by default, I'm entering the data here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm entering the right data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I clicked the agree. Everything is clear right now. So what I did here, my Angular is able to capture the right data for me. It is able to capture the right data for me. I was able to capture that. Yes or no, guys? I have a minimal validation. Full name is there. Username is required. Email is required. Password is required. Confirm password is required. And username 6 characters. Valid email ID. Password should be 6 characters. Password and confirm password should be same. All these are the validations I wrote here. Make sense? And in the console, I clicked on register. Now, you saw automatically JSON object is formed, right, guys? Here, you saw automatically JSON object is formed, right? Yes or no, guys? This is a JSON object, right, guys? Here, so you see here the JSON object. Full name, username, email. Okay, maybe. Right? It makes sense, right, guys? I'll drag further here and drag further here. Right. So far clear, right? Full name Vijay, username VijayMCA, email vijay@gmail.com, password 123456, confirm password 123456, acceptance true. This data is collected in the form of a JSON object here. By default, this data is collected as a JSON form, right? So this is a end-to-end. I'm able to take the, now it's see, right? I'm able to take the right data I was able to submit the data. And if the data is there, I can render the data as well here. So that is the functionality of a template driven forms over here, guys. Understand? Right. Now I'll showcase the code, guys. Before I proceed further, any questions here on the execution point of view? Everyone is clear? Right. Now here, app.component.html. Some of the keywords we need to add, guys, because DOM object is created where DOM is going to create a form object, right? That is what? Form tag. Hash. What is hash, guys? Do you remember in the initial classes I told? Hash F. Initial class of Angular in the data binding I told. Anyone remember? Temporary memory variable. You remember that? How many people remember? I don't know. Maybe I'll open the code here. I'll show you where I use that. The initial code, guys. In the data binding, I wrote a code, right? Countries, default pipe. In which component I wrote a data binding, guys? I created data binding also. Default pipes. Employee count. Employee details. Maybe I did it in first component.html. Yeah. Yes. Here only I wrote here. You saw here, guys. Hash my input. Sir, you saw that, guys. Hash my input. I told, right? Whatever the text I entered here, it will be saved in the temporary variable. And whenever I click on text box, my input dot value I shown, right, in the initial class of data binding. Yes, sir, guys. Right. Right. Now the same, sir, clear, right? Now I'm going to, here the entire form is a temporary variable, which is an ng form. You can only submit if the form is valid. You can only submit if the form is valid. Who will take care of validation of the form here? For example, I reset the data here. Can I click on, I was not able to submit here. I'm not able to, if validations are there, I cannot do that. So ng submit is the Angular event. ng submit is the submit button in the Angular. I can only submit if the form is valid. On, you click on submit button, execute the code of on submit button here. So that is the meaning of ng submit. And here I'm going to write, I'm writing a validation here. Directives. You people remember directives? Credit card time, I told a validation, right? Credit card validation directive, right? So I wrote a directive. In the directive, password, confirm password. It should validate here. Okay, this should be validating by this one. So this is only form tag. Okay. After that, here full name, type is equal to text box. Form control. This is the bootstrap class where every control is a form control. So if you want a particular control to be part of JSON object here, If you want a particular control to be part of JSON object, then it should be form control here. For example, you are writing a control. You don't want it part of JSON object. You can remove that form control. You no need to worry about that here. Okay. Anything typically form control, it is having here. So class is equal to form control. Name is equal to full name. NG model, two-way data binding, which is called as a two-way data binding, which is a NG model here, right? After that, required is a predefined, it's a predefined validator. It's a predefined validator. It's a predefined validator, right? Required is a predefined, guys. You no need to write a code here. If you write a required here, then Angular will take care of the control is going to have. If that doesn't have required validator, hash full name is equal to NG model, right? So please keep a temporary variable hash full name where whatever the data enter here, NG model here, and NG class is, sir, you're able to see red mark, right, sir, here? You're able to see red mark, right? Isn't it? What does it indicate? It indicates that it's a validation is failing, right? So I'm creating a separate class that actually. I'm creating a separate class that which is app.component.css, okay, where app.component.html, ng class, if it is invalid, is invalid is going to take care here, guys. And if you can only submit full name doesn't have any errors, full name can be submitted. That is the ng class is going to form dynamically with the red color is a default here. That's the red color is a default here. Now there's a code here. I want to write full name is required. If form is not submitted, full name dot error, and I'm going to create a div tag invalid feedback. Full name dot error is the required error is there. Then full name is required here. This caption is going to come. This is my validator. This is my typical validator is going to be there here. After that, username here. Next control is username. Required. Minimum length 60, maximum length 20. Min length, max length. After that, same here. If it is required validator, username. Minimum length, at least minimum length. Maximum length, maximum. Sir, these are all these things you need, right? If you want to display the message on the UI. Now you want to display the message on the UI, you need to write this validator. After that, email. Required. Email. Email is required and email is a predefined keyword, guys. Email is a predefined keyword. Required and required email. Required as well as required email is a predefined keyword. Email is going to take care here. Password, min length is 60, max length is 40. Confirm password, min length is 60, max length is that. And confirm password matches. That is a matching. That's the error. It is going to form here. Next, accept checkbox here. And if the checkbox is not checked, accept terms is required. Then I clicked on register button. So this is the complete HTML code. Entire things are in HTML, sir. You will not write any code in TypeScript. Complete code is in HTML. That's why form object is created where? DOM. DOM is going to create a form object and Angular will give the values. That's it. You will not find any code in the TypeScript file. You're not going to find any code in the TypeScript file. Complete things will be taken care by Angular DOM. Clear? Now you see here a directive I use here. App match password. I wrote a common directive which will check two values same or not same. Confirm password, password here. The name I need to use here, guys. Whatever the name I use here, name, password, confirm password. So here, directive, ng validator, okay, validator, which is going, I told right, input validator, validate function is going to go validator dot match. I wrote a common validation dot ts here, guys. Just like I'm checking if the control is having same value or not here. Then I'll find matching is equal to true. If at all matching is not there, I'm rejecting that. So here I'm going to write validator dot match password of 0. I'm giving the array and 1. 0 is the first text box and 1 is the second text box, and it is going to give validation error. What error it is giving here? It is taking control name. Two values it is going to take, and is it going to check any errors are there? And it is going to check both are equal or not. Control dot value not equivalent to set errors matching is equal to true and null. So which is going to return the data and which is going to take care over here. In the app dot component HTML, that will be returned over here. In the TypeScript file, I don't have anything over here, guys. By default, I can import router outlet, forms module, common module. Okay. So here I am taking my form JSON object. This is my JSON object. Console.log this dot form. That's it. And I want to print in a val JSON.stringify. It will convert it in formatted JSON string, which I shown right console.log here. And this is going to be taken care. Okay. And in some projects, guys, some people will use app.module.ts. I told it global registration file, right? Sir, if you use this also fine. But if you want to refer, because in everywhere you need to write forms module, right? You need to write everywhere forms module, right? Common module, forms module, everywhere you need to write, right? That's why global module I can write here. Browser module, forms module, common module I can write here, and I can bootstrap app component. This is a global, this is a one more way where you want to write forms module in a common format so that you can write app module. It's not mandatory, guys, here. Rather than writing forms module in every component, I can write in the global module. That is the app module. This is also fine. Or you can write in every component is also fine. Both are with the same approach here. So this is the typical history of a template driven forms here. I'll share the code. You can go through the code and you can use in your project. This is the structure which I'm using and you can use in this project. Okay. Any questions here, guys, so far? Yeah. Let me share the code over here, guys. Angular template forms here, as well as these running notes. Let me save here. Training Angular show pretty Angular template forms, running notes, and this PPT. I'm going to share this PPT, guys, for your reference. And regarding to that, your questions, right, guys? Not able to see the notes. Still, the problem is there, guys. Mr. Ashok told that he is going to talk to you in your class. Is that happened, guys? Sir, regarding you mentioned, right, you are not able to see the notes every time. Some problem is there, right, with the notes? Sir, Kannan or someone else who
No,
mentioned
now
to
it
me.
is visible. Now
Okay.
visible note.
Sometimes
No.
it sometime it's not visible, but after some time it gets resolved.
Okay. Just like Mr. Ashok told that he is going to check with you in his class. Just please, because he is the owner of this particular code, he told that he is going to take care. Okay? Understand? Yeah. Please,
Yes, I got it.
but it's typically strange. Why sometimes I don't know. But please let me know, guys. I can, I mean, I can update and as well as I can see. Template driven forms here. Angular, show petty, Angular, template forms here. There's a zip file. Yep. And tomorrow I'm going to focus on reactive forms, and day after tomorrow, lazy loading. With that, I'm going to set for this particular batch, guys. Okay. And I'm preparing a Angular interview question and answers, a video I'm going to prepare with a good proper slides. Once it is done, I will share you. If you can refer that 20 to 25 minutes video, it's very, very useful for your interview preparation. I'm going to prepare that. Okay. Once it is done, I will share the note as well as YouTube link. Both the things I'm going to share it. Sounds good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Any other question before I wrap for today, guys? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.